What's up, guys? Jordan here from Show Me Vegas, and as you can see, the clouds are settling in over Tropicana Las Vegas. That's because in less than 18 hours, this hotel is not going to be open ever again. It's been open here on the Strip since 1957, and I'm going to stay here tonight. In this video, I'm going to show you what it was like to stay at the Trop on the last night of operations. We're going to talk a lot about the history of this property along the way, and also what happens next to this piece of real estate here on Las Vegas Boulevard.
I guess I'll be on my way now. You just give me a...
So I'm all checked in here at the Trop on the 19th floor of the Paradise Tower, and to say that there's an odd energy in this building tonight would be an understatement. It looks like about 1/3 of the casino is already shut down, games are turned completely off, others just say out of order. The high limit room, both slots and tables, is closed. Trago is closed. All of the restaurants on the property except for Robert Irvine's are now closed. And you can't even go over to the club tower anymore. That area is entirely closed off as well. The people that are here are literally just here for the spectacle. They're walking around with cameras, cell phones, taking pictures, reminiscing about the old times at this hotel, and it's just a really strange environment to be here. As you might imagine, the crowd also includes a lot of social media influencers. I spoke to Scott of Vital Vegas downstairs earlier, also bumped into Jeff of J&K Stay in Vegas, and it was Jeff who actually let me know that there are, get this, 82 rooms rented in this hotel tonight. Now this hotel has more than 1,400 rooms. This tower, the Paradise Tower, has I think about 680 or so, and of those rooms only 82 are rented. Being in this room, I'm not going to lie, is very strange. This tower is older than I am. This room has seen so many guests come through it over the years, and after I check out tomorrow morning, nobody will ever again sleep in this room, and that's a strange feeling. Couple that with the fact that there's hardly anybody in the tower this evening, it's an even stranger feeling. Very quiet here at the Trop tonight. Now, since I'm the last guest to ever stay in this room, there's no reason to do the typical room tour that shows you what you can expect if you stay here, but I definitely want to show you around, so let's start with a look around the room. One thing I will say that's really cool design-wise about this room is the ceiling. I don't know if this is original to 1979 or if this was added later, but that's a cool touch you don't find in many hotels these days. And I must say, the ceiling itself is in pristine condition. This chaise lounge, almost a day bed over in front of the window, is a pretty cool touch. That is every bit as big as a twin-size bed. The last remodel here at the Trop took place in 2009. That's when they added what they called the South Beach theme, although I'm not quite sure I completely get it. The bamboo and the warm wood tones make sense, the palm, but I'm not sure why there's all this New Orleans jazz stuff all around the property. One thing I'll say about these rooms, they were very spacious. This is a big guest room. It's beat up and nicked up here and there, well, pretty much everywhere. And the carpet, I will say, looks pretty disgusting, but I wouldn't say there's anything that was actually in disrepair. Now, the bathroom in this room for a hotel built in 1979 is not all that bad. It's a little dark and cave-like, but one thing that would be concerning to me if they weren't going to demolish this building already is that the building is sagging toward the middle. You can probably even see it here on the floor. From the window side to the hallway side, there is several inches probably of sag. When you stand in front of the toilet, you can actually feel it in your feet. Usually, that sort of thing happens in old wooden buildings, not concrete ones, but oh well, I guess they're going to tear this building down here in the next 6 months anyway. Alright, that's a look around the room. Now, if you saw anything you liked, you can actually buy it, from the furniture to the lamps to the TV. It's all going to be liquidated very shortly after closing. As a matter of fact, they've already contracted with the company. I'll try to find a link to that and put it in the description down below. Not that you really want this furniture, but it is cool to get memorabilia that way. I regret when the Riviera closed not showing up and going through that liquidation sale, because you could have really picked up some cool pieces of Vegas memorabilia for a pretty decent price, and I think that's going to be the case here as well. Now in this video I hope to do three things specifically. I want to talk a lot about the history of this property. Any Las Vegas property that's been open since 1957 has some stories to tell, and this is no exception. Then I want to show you what the property looks like today on the day of closing. You can see just how far downhill it's gone over the years. And then I want to talk about the future. We all know there's supposed to be a ballpark built here for the Oakland Athletics to relocate to Las Vegas. They're going to be tearing down the Trop in order to make way for it. When's that all going to happen, or is it actually going to happen? We'll talk about that toward the end of the video. Right now I've got to get downstairs and find something to eat. Now I know there's only one place I'm going to be able to go tonight, and that's Robert Irvine's. I might just head next door to the MGM Grand, but for now, I gotta get going, and I'll check back in a little bit. Here's a look at the few bars and restaurants they did have before they started shutting down. Just 3 restaurants and 2 bars in total. This was Trago, which was the only really nice lounge here on the property, already closed. Again, many of these places are closed because the employees have already moved on to other jobs. The Tropicana Theater right behind me here is one of the few places that Ashton and I actually have memories here at the Trop. We saw Raiding the Rock Vault there in 2015. We actually fell in love with that show and saw it 2 more times at the Hard Rock and once at the Rio before it kind of fizzled out. But the first time was here at the Tropicana Theater, which seats 1,000 and was actually a really nice showroom in its day. The Tropicana opened its doors on April 4th, 1957, and it was conceived by a man named Ben Jaffe, who coincidentally was part owner of the Fontainebleau Miami Beach. Now, despite the fact that Jaffe leased the property to a man named Phil Castle, who had strong mob ties, Jaffe denied that the mob was involved in his property in any way. It didn't take long at all, however, for that to be proven false, because get this. Just over a month after the Tropicana opened, famed New York mobster Frank Costello survived an assassination attempt in New York. While he was in the hospital, however, police found on his possession a note containing the exact gambling take for the Tropicana's operations as of April 27th, 1957, including markers given and slot machine winnings. In 1959, just 2 years after the hotel opened, Foley's Bergère, a topless showgirl revue, opened here at the Tropicana. It was inspired by the success of the Lido de Paris show down at Stardust, and it ran here at Tropicana for almost 50 years, closing just shy of its 50th birthday in 2009. That 49-year run to this day makes it the longest running production in Las Vegas history. Now that is impressive. 18 hours to go, and by tonight the only restaurant still open on property is going to be Robert Irvine's right over there. You can see they've already shut down huge banks of slot machines in preparation for closing. It might be a little tough to find something to play tonight. Looks like both the high-limit slots and the high-limit tables are already closed. Alright, it's now 1961 and the property is a huge success. The street right outside the north entrance where I'm standing was once known as Bond Road. It wasn't always Tropicana Avenue. It was named Tropicana Avenue in 1961 in honor of this hotel. Also in that same year, 1961, the Tropicana Country Club opened an 18-hole golf course that existed until the late 80s when it was purchased by the MGM Grand. It now is part of the MGM Grand property, more specifically the Signature and Top Golf. Now, the Trop performed very well throughout the 1960s, in fact, earning the nickname the Tiffany of the Strip due to its opulence. But by the end of the decade, it was struggling to compete with the nicer, newer hotels on the Strip like Caesar's Palace and the Las Vegas Hilton. It was sold in 1972 once again, this time purchasing an 8% stake was Sammy Davis Jr., earning him the distinction of becoming the first black man to own any part of a Las Vegas Strip casino. Right here along Tropicana Avenue, you can still see one of the original three-story structures from 1957. These were called the garden villas or the garden rooms. These were just kind of closed last November without much notice, and that's quite a shame because it would have been really cool to stay on the last night in one of these. For this just being right around the corner from one of the busiest intersections in the United States, it's oddly quiet. It's kind of eerie out here. And talk about eerie, look at this. This is one of those garden villas. Used to be a railing there a long time ago. That was once a hotel room. I'm on the east end of one of those original hotel wings now, right outside the pool area, which is in between the two towers. And I gotta say, it already feels like this place has been abandoned for decades, if not longer. It's absolutely post-apocalyptic out here, and this place hasn't even closed yet. It's just a really, really eerie vibe. Safe to say, no more bottle service. Now, because they're closing on April 2nd, they didn't even bother opening the pool for the season this year, and I guess we found out what they did with all the pool furniture. You can kind of see in this shot just how far apart the two towers at the Tropicana actually were. The Club Tower is right over here, and the Paradise Tower is way over there. If you've ever walked between the two inside the property, you know just how far apart they are, but it's really striking when you come out here in this abandoned parking lot and have a look at it from afar. So now it's 1978 and the Trop is back in the news for its mob connections. An FBI probe from that year called Operation Strawman uncovered a huge skimming operation in Las Vegas, handled here at the Trop by a man named Joe Augusto, who was tied to the Kansas City mob. Now, Augusto was actually in charge of the Foley's Bergère show that I mentioned earlier. Now, I'm not making this up. Ownership found him charming and allowed him to actually operate the casino without a gaming license, which, if you're not aware, is a pretty big no-no, at least as far as the Nevada Gaming Commission is concerned. It did get ownership in hot water, and shortly thereafter, they sold the hotel. Just 1 year later, the Tiffany Tower, the tower that I'm actually in right now, it's today called the Paradise Tower. It opened, 21 stories, 600 rooms, the first high-rise built here at the Tropicana. This is the other wing of the original three-story structure here at Tropicana. This one's known as the bungalows. How cool would it have been to have one of these rooms in Vegas overlooking the pool and courtyard here, have a little patio, a different time for sure. All right, it's now 1986 and they once again decide to expand the Trop. They add the island tower to the property right behind me. It's now known as the Club Tower. This is actually the walkway to it right here. The addition of that tower added 800 rooms across 20 stories to the Tropicana, and at the same time they expanded the pool area to what it is today. Throughout the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, it was one of the best pool scenes on the Strip with multiple areas, multiple lagoons, and they actually had floating blackjack. Alright, so Robert Irvine's was, in fact, very crowded. Luckily for me, the front desk agent was actually wrong. There is one other place open to get food tonight, and that's Red Lotus right behind me. So I got myself some shrimp lo mein. Otherwise, it was going to be about a 45-minute wait for a table over there. Bar seating was open, but the bar was totally packed. It's a nut house over there. It does seem like they're doing everything they can to make sure that people get out of here as quickly as possible, both tonight and in the morning. Like I said, almost nothing is open. The only place that you can even get a drink here tonight, I believe, is at the bar at Robert Irvine's or over at the Daiquiri Bar. Now, with only 82 rooms being occupied tonight, they don't have a lot of guests to worry about, but you can bet with this being the last night this property is open, there's going to be a lot of people walking in off the street. And they're not making it all that hospitable. When I looked earlier this afternoon, only 2 blackjack tables were open. One was a double-deck table, and the minimum was $100. The other was regular blackjack, paying $6 to $5. And it was $25. They're just essentially out of dealers. From what I understand, the dealers that were not of retirement age have already moved on, mostly to other jobs, and so the only ones they have left are probably those that are retiring. I don't know what time the table games are going to close tonight, but I bet once the current shift is over with, the tables close, never to reopen. See, the sports book here at the Trop didn't make it to the final night. By the early 90s, the hotel really leaned into the island theme. This right here was actually modeled after a Caribbean village, and there was actually a laser light show there at night. The front lawn was all decked out as well. They actually had statues down there themed after the slightly more famous ones on Easter Island.
Atlantic City, New Jersey, Dover, Delaware, Biloxi and Vicksburg, Mississippi, Shreveport, Louisiana, Evansville, Indiana.
Yeah, it's real bad, huh? You don't see its whole body.
All right, the early 2000s brought more ownership changes and grand ideas to the Trop. One of those ideas was to add 5 hotel towers and 8,000 hotel rooms to this property in a massive overhaul that was supposed to cost $2 billion. However, the Great Recession arrived in the late 2000s, and by 2009, the current owners decided instead to just remodel the property and move away from the island theme. The 2009 remodel brought on a South Beach vibe. They painted the exterior of the property bright white. They remodeled the rooms, and that was the last time this property saw any renovations, almost whatsoever. So this is mezzanine level in the Paradise Tower. This tower was built in 1979, and there are clearly some parts that haven't been touched, like this tile, the ceiling tiles above my head. It's crazy how a building can get to be this old without any renovations. Alright, so if you come up to the mezzanine level and walk around, you actually can get to the club tower. I don't think we're supposed to, but other people are doing it, so I'm going to do it too. On the left is where Oakville Steakhouse used to be. Alright, that's as far as we could go. The club tower is not actually open. Only the people who were staying there last night and before can go back there now. Nobody's booked in there tonight. Alright, back in the room after walking around the property for a little bit, or should I say a lot, and at least 2 things are very clear. Number 1, there wasn't ever very much to do here to begin with, and number 2, they stopped caring about this property a very long time ago. Some of the exterior of this property looks like it hasn't seen a coat of paint in decades. I know it was remodeled in about 2009. That's when they actually changed the exterior from the gold glass to the white, the totally white South Beach look. It looks like they haven't even done so much as clean the windows since then. The outside of this property is in complete disrepair. I can't even imagine what those bungalows look like in the 3-story buildings on the ground floor by the time they finally closed them down. It is sad to see a historic property come to this, but this is what happens when decades of bad management pile on top of each other and just not enough money is reinvested into a property. The first time I ever came to Las Vegas was in 2009, and that was when this place was remodeled. And I remember thinking it was a bit of a dump even back then. Now, after all that walking, I am absolutely beat, and it is going to be a little bit weird sleeping in this hotel tower knowing there are so few guests here tonight, but I guess at least it's going to be quiet. That said, I'm going to turn in and we're going to talk about the future of this property tomorrow. Well, good morning from the Trop. Room 19018 has seen its last guest, and it was me. I actually slept pretty well. This bed's not too bad. And by the way, you can buy this bed for $99. No, I'm not joking. If you're into buying used hotel mattresses, this could be yours. Last night was pretty weird. It was mostly gawkers downstairs. Some people were gambling, but as the machines became vacant, they shut them down so that nobody else could come in and play. By the time I came up here a little after 11 o'clock, I would say 80% of the slot machines in the casino were turned off. The tables were still going, and I don't know how late they went, but they are closed this morning. All the machines are off this morning, and gaming has ceased here at the Tropicana Las Vegas. As weird as it was being here last night, it's even weirder to walk around this casino floor at 7 a.m. I did go downstairs and grab myself some coffee. Trop Coffee was still open this morning, and I believe Robert Irvine's is going to be open until noon. But let's talk a little bit about the future of this property. This hotel sits on 35 acres of some of the most prime real estate on planet Earth. The intersection of Las Vegas Boulevard and Tropicana Avenue is one of the busiest in the United States. And the real estate here is owned by a Penn National Gaming spinoff called Gaming and Leisure Properties. Now, they've leased this property to Bally's Corporation on a long-term land lease. It was Bally's Corporation who entered into an agreement with the Oakland Athletics to allow them to build a ballpark on this site. So as it stands now, they would demolish this hotel, level the property, and sublease it to the Oakland Athletics for them to build a ballpark on. Now, there are still a lot of questions about how that's going to happen, who's going to pay for it. Some public financing has been approved, but there's still quite a bit of debate over that. Regardless, the Oakland Athletics have released renderings of what the ballpark is supposed to look like. Here are the renderings. Personally, I think the design is pretty cool. It's a fully enclosed dome. It looks a bit like the Sydney Opera House, yes, but I think it's got a cool style to it, and it would make a nice addition to the Strip. Now, say what you will about the logistics of having another stadium on the Strip. Like I said, this is one of the busiest intersections in the United States, and can they really handle the additional traffic? But you got to imagine a lot of the people going to the games are going to be parking at nearby properties, possibly staying at nearby properties. So it might even be reasonable to say that half or more of the people attending a baseball game on any given day are tourists and they're coming in by foot. Either way, this is the piece of real estate they've settled on, and if everything goes well financing-wise, that's what's going to happen on this corner of the Strip. So what's the timeline for all of this? Well, just recently it was announced that the demolition would take place sometime near October of 2024. Will it be a full-on implosion? We don't know that yet. They haven't said. There's a lot of discussion about how much asbestos is on the property here. There's probably quite a bit, especially in those old 1957 three-story wings. But that's happened before. Hotels like the Riviera and the New Frontier were imploded. They have to come in and abate the asbestos before they can demolish the building. At that point, they've got it gutted down to pretty much just a concrete structure anyway, and then the implosion occurs. Hopefully, if they're going to tear it down, hopefully we do get to see an implosion, because it's been quite some time since there's been one of those on the Strip. Ballpark construction is supposed to begin in early 2025, and it's not going to be complete until sometime in early 2028, and that's when supposedly the A's will move to Las Vegas full-time and begin playing at the new park. Say what you will about that. That's a topic for another day. I'm not going to opine on whether I think the A's moving to Las Vegas is a good thing or not. Everybody's got their own opinion. As for me, it's time for me to check out and move on. I was going to stay until they closed the doors at noon today, but now knowing that there are no more bets being placed downstairs, there's absolutely nothing to do here except for eat breakfast. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to sign off here, but the video's not over. Stick around for some footage of what this place looks like here on the morning of the closing day. And while you watch, don't forget to hit that like button. Also subscribe to the channel and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos in the future. We'll see you in the next one, because there's always more for us to show you on Show Me Vegas. What's up, guys? Jordan here from Show Me Vegas, and while the Trop doesn't close for about 4.5 hours, gaming has officially ceased at this once great property. I'll just let the pictures speak for themselves.